Welcome to the Noble 23 podcast. My Hey Stupid board right there.
I can't see it.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a list of things that I've incorrectly done in the past. So, hey stupid, don't do it again.
Don't do this again.
Yeah, exactly. So, Corey Deal, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, brother? How you?
I'm doing great.
Good, man.
So, it took us a couple weeks to a month or so to
About a month.
to make this happen.
Yeah, it did.
Sick kids and then
Oh my gosh.
schedule and
Yeah. I think the first time
I think
Addie and Avery both had a snotty nose, and
Des was early on in the pregnancy.
yeah,
So, but yeah, finally made it.
finally made it up, man.
Yeah.
So, I was just sitting here looking at all your challenge coins you've got. So
You're the first person to actually acknowledge them.
really,
Like while we were recording.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so some of them traded with a German paratrooper when I went over to Normandy. Let's see here. Got that one from doing honor guard during the Normandy ceremonies.
Right.
That was really cool. Then we got the Cherokee one, we got these ones.
Yep.
Let's see here.
I haven't seen the stork one yet.
That's my deployment coin.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see here. Yeah, there's a couple other fire ones. Yeah, Droke.
Yeah.
Got a couple different ones.
I actually brought one, and I know.
You keep it on you? Do you
No.
normally carry it on you?
I try to carry one on me whenever I go out or anything or something like this. I knew you like them and would probably have a couple, so I brought one. So this is from my wife's, her dad's best friend. He was a FEMA task force commander, so he would run the type. I'm gonna get this wrong. There's a
Just big
level
incident stuff.
Yeah, big incident. So he was in command of 9/11 at Ground Zero for like a month, about 6 months after it happened. So they rotated in command teams over. They do a month rotation there. He was in command of Katrina like 8 months after it happened. So this is his Office of the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response. Nation Prepared. His IRCT operations coin. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He passed away a couple years ago from cancer that they think he might have gotten while at Ground Zero.
What do they call it?
I don't know the term that they're using for the
It's
cancers.
like 9/11 cancer or Ground Zero cancer.
Yeah,
or,
something like that.
Jon Stewart was big on that.
Yeah.
The comedian.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool though.
Yeah, I was looking through them this morning because I'll pick one or two to get and take
Yeah, that's
places. And I was like, man, I think Drew would really appreciate that one.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
So,
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I got a couple different ones, and then
the pen.
I snuck that out of basic training.
I tried.
When they said throw it away, I did a little sleight of hand and I made it happen.
Dude, I
was
wanted
like, that's
mine.
the only grenade I've ever thrown. I was like, I'm keeping the pin.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not a combat MOS. I was like, this is my only chance.
Right. I wanted to keep mine so bad, and we couldn't. They made us hold on to them and turn them back in.
I think I found one
Did you?
before it happened, and I think I picked it up. Now that I think about it, and was like, okay, I'm gonna do a little switcheroo.
Yeah.
And I was like, here you go.
Yeah, here's my two.
And then I was like, and then kept mine.
Yeah. They didn't shake you down afterwards?
No. Oh no, they did, but like I hit it well enough that I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Oh, dude, but your heart was pounding.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that thing upstairs, or going down the stairs,
Right.
that you said you liked. Des wanted to get into like painting at one point when we were back at the old house.
Okay.
And she's like, just do whatever you want to do. And she's like, I'm gonna do a quote. And I was like, all right, I'll do a quote.
Yeah.
And the quote is like, the hard work puts you where the good luck can find you.
Right.
So I think it was like my first or second shift ever working in EMS. And granted, it was non-emergency at that point. Like I worked my way up from non-emergency to 911,
Right.
or ALS 911 stuff, and then eventually to where I'm at now. But we were waiting on a dialysis transport or a doctor's pickup, and the guy I was with, partnered for the day, said that, and I was like,
That's pretty cool.
"That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good
like
one.
that." And he gave me like this whole story with it and everything, and kind of explained it, and I was like, "I'm stealing that."
Yeah.
That's actually like my little quote part of my signature on my email. At work.
Is it?
Yeah, because I was like, I just loved it. I was like,
Dude,
that's
that's
so true.
yeah.
So true.
Kind of along the lines of luck favors the prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or so there's one that I heard on a podcast, and basically it's along the lines of when the time to perform has arrived, the time to prepare is past.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite quotes like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. So we've worked together. Well, so you said you started in IFT, inter-facility transfers.
Oh, yeah.
Or non-emergency.
Yeah. Yeah, I worked at UMR back in the day.
UMR?
Yeah, United Medical Response. I don't even think it exists anymore.
I don't think so. Never heard of them.
Yeah, I tried to get in like the Woodstock office, and they only had an opening at College Park. So south of Atlanta.
Yeah. Rough.
Yeah. Dude, I saw some stuff down there that I was like, I didn't know this existed in America.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see the shanty towns in like Brazil,
Right.
the villages completely made out of sheet metal. That exists in South Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this is a different level of poverty.
Yeah. It's rough.
Like, you think people living in trailer homes is bad? And like some people, they make them look nice, and like that's great. Like absolutely, like do what you can do. But this, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's nasty.
Yeah. When I worked at AMR, part-time for a little while, right after I got my medic, saw a lot of the same kind of stuff on east side of Atlanta, DeKalb.
Did you do rural metro and then turned into AMR, or did you already come in when AMR took over in the area?
No, so AMR always had the contract for DeKalb.
That's right. Never mind.
So I never worked in Roswell for them. But yeah, when I was over in DeKalb, East Atlanta, that area, saw a lot of the same. Those just some sheet metal blows off a roof somewhere, and they get it and make them a little shanty, and that's where they're at.
Yeah.
So,
dude, it was bad.
Yeah, it's rough.
Bad. Yeah, I was like, I did not know this was in existence here.
Yep.
So yeah, like I did UMR to rural metro, still BLS. Finally got on an ALS truck. Got a contract in the Springs, so I was like on one of those dedicated 911 trucks.
Right.
Not the like rural metro back in the day had like a Kaiser transport contract, so it's like you could just get tasked out to do a Kaiser transport, and those always took priority because like
that's the
they
money,
had like
man.
a priority contract. Yeah,
That's the money.
so it's like you could be like passing by like cardiac arrest, and they're like, nope, keep going to your Kaiser transport. And we're like, this makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
But yeah, I got a 911 only down in the Springs, so I ran a lot of nasty stuff down there.
Yeah.
The 285 400 interchange.
Yeah. Rough.
Dude, there was some bad accidents I ran on 285.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And then you came.
And I applied multiple times to multiple different departments. Finally got hired on like the third round.
Right.
So it took me 3 years to get on with the fire department.
Then you came. You were my rookie.
Yeah, and then I was your rookie.
There we go.
So it's been a minute.
Dude, that's been. How long you been there?
7 years.
7
now.
years?
Yeah.
I was going to say 7 years.
Yeah, we got a little class page on Facebook, and Leslie the other day was just like, congratulations on, or happy 7th anniversary or something like that. And I was like, holy crap, 7 years now.
It flies, dude.
It does.
I'm about to pass. So we just passed 10 that we started recruit school, and we're about to pass 10 that we got our full-time date, because my class started half were full-time, half were part-time, and they were hoping that by the time the class ended, we would all be full-time. So all our full-time dates are coming up here in
Did you start part-time?
weeks. Um, I think I actually was one of the full times. It's like half and half. I was um on the list where I was at the cutoff where I think I was full time.
Nice. Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and then we went from there to EMT school and then came out. So beginning of next year will be our 10-year in the field.
Yeah, I remember when I came in the field, you had just finished medic school.
Yeah,
So I was doing my like 10 on the box just to get introduced, and then
Yeah.
you were doing like your 10 on the box as a brand new medic,
yeah.
and then the chaos that ensued from.
Oh my gosh, we ran some wild calls there in those 10. Well, I actually did. So I did like 8, and then I got married. I took some shifts off, and then they made me start over and do my 10 again.
Yep.
Because they were like, it's 10 in a row.
Yep.
It's not 10. And I'm like, okay. But I got married a month out of paramedic school. So
Yeah.
I
was
did
there.
Like, yeah, dude, that was a wild time.
Yep.
Wild time.
And so now
It's
you
fun,
went from FAO to sergeant to lieutenant now. You got
Yep.
your own crew.
Yeah, got my own crew. I love it, dude. I have a great crew. I have some jam up firemen that work with me.
Where are you at?
9.
Okay. I thought you were at 12, and then
Yeah, my first assignment as a lieutenant was at 12.
then I guess what is that BC doing
Yeah.
something with
He went back to B shift.
okay.
Yeah, so he went back to B shift, or went to B shift, and there was an opening at 9, and I slid down from 12 to 9.
Okay, so that's your permanent assignment now.
Yep,
Okay, I didn't know if that was like a temporary thing or
9A, man. So,
nice.
oh, dude, I'm loving
Yeah,
it.
you got a great crew up there
I do, dude. Some of those guys are just,
or down there.
yeah, we're down there from here. Those guys are awesome. We're training every shift. I don't have to get on them about much. I've got 4 rookie non-drivers right now.
Oof.
Yeah, so that's kind of rough, but we're making it work. They're moldable. They're receptive to training and learning. My brand new guy, he's 8. I think today's his. I'm off today. I think today's his 8th shift in the field, and dude, he's just like eating it up. He wants to learn everything. He wants to know everything. He's always coming like, "Hey, LT, what are we gonna train on? What can I learn? What can I research? Is there any good material you can recommend?" And so, really impressed with him. The other 3 guys I have are coming up on their 1 year soon, starting at the beginning of the year, and they're all eager to start driving and learn how to pump. And
That's kind of cool that you can like knock out like task books like all at once.
yeah, we're gonna have 3 guys in a task book, which will be good. We can just set up one station and they run through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then
Dude, what's your thoughts on like now being like the guy in charge of having that rescue that most of the time is staffed by rookies, having almost like free reign to do what they want?
It makes me nervous some days. I run with them on calls that sound like there's anything. If I'm on the engine, we'll roll that way, non-emergency. Just we won't even go over the radio. We'll just kind of roll with them. If something happens, we'll go run our call. But if we have the ability, we'll go and roll with them on something. Just kind of give them some guidance. We've sat down a lot, so I've taken the 3 more senior rookies and sat them down, and we've gone over like decision making. You know, how do you make your decisions? Well, start with this and then go to this and this, and then if you can't figure it out from there, you can call me or my sergeant and or one of the other senior guys on the crew. Like, don't be scared to call for help, that kind of stuff. So it's not a challenge because they're all good dudes and they all want to do good, and I don't have any issues out of them. But as a lieutenant now with that crew, it's just one of those things that it's always in the back of my mind. Just kind of makes me nervous. But I think that would be with anything,
Yeah.
you know, as an officer. Especially I've been there a month now, so I'm still learning a lot of these guys. I've got one guy that I worked with before at Station 1, so we just picked up like we used to work together. It's been really good. And then everybody else there, I'm learning, and they're learning me. So
Nice.
yeah, man. I got my newest guy. He's married. He's got kids, so he's having to learn like how to be a family man in the fire service.
Yeah.
And it's like he's like, how do you, he's picking up a lot of shifts. And actually I've got two guys that are new that have families and kids, and picking up a lot of overtime shifts because they got to support a family.
Eager to learn, eager to
run the calls. They
Yeah.
want to go and
but
they want
also
to do
get
it.
that extra money.
They need that extra money. They're working a lot.
But then they're
And
gone.
one of them has already brought up man, I'm gone a lot. My wife likes she likes that squad pay. She likes that extra check coming in. She has, but she's frustrated some days with how much I'm gone. And we had to sit down, and we didn't have to. I wanted to sit down with him and be like, hey man, like you're a husband and a dad first. Like this
Yeah.
place it's important. I understand you need the overtime and that, but make sure you take care of your family first, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
Is he trying to sign up for like 24-hour shifts or day trucks?
He's taking whatever.
Taking whatever he can get.
Whatever he can get. I remember his first check where I think he had like 2 hours and a day truck on it. He was like, oh man, that's nice, and I was like, yeah, man.
Don't get
I
used
was like,
to
be
it.
careful. Be careful. You start needing that, and then it's probably 2 months later, a couple checks later, he was like, yeah, I see what you're talking about. That's starting to cause some waves, and
Yeah. Absolutely.
something you got to learn, go through. But
Being gone like 24 hours is hard enough for sure.
yeah,
And I mean, like right now, just for me, it's like not even having a kid yet, but just having a pregnant wife, and
yeah,
she's definitely admitted to being more clingy right now.
oh, absolutely.
And she's just like, I don't want you to go.
Yeah.
And then us like talking about like, hey, I'd like to pick up if possible, like maybe 2 extra shifts a month, just try and get one on each paycheck or pay cycle.
Yeah.
And that 48 hours being gone, that she's like,
Oh man.
I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I'm
And then to
married.
add kids into it for sure, like it changes the dynamic. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's I'm married with 2 kids, and when we were dating and just married, and it was just the 2 of us, it was very easy to call her and be like, "Hey, there's a shift open. Care if I work it?" No, go ahead. Like she's very
That's what Des
independent.
is like. She's like, if you need to take it, take it.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Yeah, she's very independent. I never worried about her being gone for 48 or military. You're gone for 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks,
Yeah.
whatever. Like you're like, oh, they're good. Like, yeah, I miss them. I love my wife. I love my wife more than anybody else on this planet, But the being gone from them and missing them is different than knowing that you're needed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like now she's got 2 kids, and or now I guess I should say we have 2 kids because she had them. So
Yeah, you're a part of it.
yeah. So now having 2 kids, she has days where if I'm gone on shift, I can have a terrible night, and she had just as bad a night, at home with the babies. And then the next morning, I don't feel like going to do this 24-hour shift, much less anything else. And she gets up, and she's got to get up. She's got to get the kids ready. She's got to feed them and take them places and do things with them. And
Yeah.
it's hard on her, and she needs me there to help her through that.
Does she have
You know what I
anybody
mean?
that she can lean on that's like close?
Yeah,
Family,
so
friend wise?
my mom is our neighbor, so that's nice. Mom lives next door. She takes the kids when she can. Catherine works Monday through Thursday, and my mom works Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So somebody's around all the time for the kids. So we're very fortunate we don't have them in daycare.
Nice.
And then my dad lives down the road about 15 minutes, so he can help out if.
You were saying that, and I
Whatever.
was like, I thought your dad lived next to you.
Yeah, so he did. And when he got remarried, the house he lived in, he moved out of.
Okay.
My mom sold her house in
Bought
the
that.
Chattanooga area and then bought it from him and moved in next door.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so I got both my parents pretty close now for the first time since I was in high school. So that's nice. They're there to help out, and they love keeping the girls. but even still, even if they can, that her needing somebody, and it's harder for me now to pick up those extra shifts, knowing that I'm leaving her to keep the girls for another 24. Dude, kids are hard, man.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Kids are hard. You'll learn.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. So
I love.
like, oh, great.
I love my kids. They are the most frustrating people in the world. So, my oldest, she's 2 going on 13, and she's learned the words, no and stop and pushing, and like she's just a kid, man. And my youngest has started rolling over and sitting up and babbling and doing all the cute baby things, which is fine. But like last night, Catherine was at work. I was home with the girls. It had been a day already. Addie was throwing stuff. She had hit Avery. She had just been clingy and then not want anything to do with you, and just you're back and forth. So I was trying to cook dinner for us, and Avery had spit up, and then both of them needed diapers, and then Addie didn't want to be put down, and then she didn't want anything to do with dinner. She threw her plate across the room. So it was like, in like a span of an hour, I went from like, I love these girls so much, they're the best thing in the world, to I could sell you for $20. That's fine. Like, I'm over it, man. And I'm just kidding, but you have that feeling of like,
you see that SNL skit, the nap time, and it's just like, this is chloroform.
Yeah,
like,
dude. I mean, I just, that's wild, but you get it once, like you get where all the jokes come from of like parents and kids chloroforming their babies. Like, I would never do that. Hear me. I would never do that. But
you understand.
But I get it.
I
get it. People, they talk about like, when I'm a dad, I'm gonna do whatever, and then you become a dad, and you're like, man, I was crazy to think all those things. So, but I love being a dad. It's the best thing in the world. My girls are, to be the ages they are so good. They're such good kids 99% of the time, and I can't ask for better kids, man. We took them to Oregon to see Catherine's family a couple weeks ago. I think right before, when they were sick, we were supposed to be out over here, and then I had to cancel, and then I had like 10 days that we were going to be gone. So that's what took so long.
Yeah.
And did the whole flight out there. Girls were super well behaved. They napped. They didn't throw fits. We landed. It was a 5-hour flight from here to there. It was a one-way. And the lady behind us stood up, and she was like, your kids are amazing. She goes, I got on the plane, and I thought, this is going to be the longest flight ever. And then we landed, and she was like, y'all are doing awesome. And that was really cool to have somebody, a stranger, come up and be like, hey, your kids are great. So that was pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, you mentioned earlier the military and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember you had called me at one point, and you're like, hey, man, I'm like really considering joining the military.
Yeah.
And we had like a pretty serious conversation about it.
We did.
Because like I had done the reserves, I had deployed, I had gotten out.
Yep.
And you were asking my honest opinion of it.
Yeah.
You still happy you did it? That's it. That's it right there. That's the.
Yeah. Yes and no. Yes and no.
Are you? First off, are you still in?
I got 18 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to reenlist?
No. And it's not for the reasons that most people don't reenlist. I love what I do in the military. I love what I do in the Army. I'm a medic. I love my job. I have some great medics that I've worked with. I've learned how to perfect some of my trauma skills by doing it through repetition there and having some cases in the field and that kind of stuff. I love what I do. I love who I do it with. My unit's great. My leadership is great. And that's not something you hear that much in the Army. Like, dude, it is rare that you have somebody come in and they're like, yeah, everything's pretty good. I kind of like this.
Yeah, mine was 100% toxic.
Right. When I joined, I didn't have kids. So
new priorities.
Right. I just don't want to keep being gone for because my unit has a super high op tempo. I mean, we're one of the busiest guard units in the country. We have a higher op tempo than most all units.
What does that mean for those who don't know?
Okay, so when they talk about doing the National Guard 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer, right? The rate at what you like show up to drill and kind of stuff, that's your op tempo. That's how fast or how often you're needed or how often you deploy. My unit deploys a ton for a guard unit. They were on a deployment when I joined. I came in, they were just getting back, and the unit's prepping for a deployment in like the next 2 or 3 months. So I'm not going as of right now. I'm on the bench.
World War III is like on the brink.
Right, I know, man.
How do you feel about that, like current situation and everything, knowing you're in the military and you could be called up? Especially with low, what's the word, retention numbers right now?
Yeah.
Low numbers overall?
I'm doing okay.
Okay.
I'm good. If I was with a unit that I felt were a bunch of scrubs, I'd be a lot more worried. But I have some jam up dudes in my unit, right? I mean, I just have some dudes who've seen a lot of combat. They've been on 3 or 4 combat deployments, and you don't have that a lot in those guard and reserve units. Most of my leadership has been through combat and multiple deployments, so I feel as comfortable as you could be in the military in a guard unit with the potential break of a world war breaking out. You know, as of right now, they haven't really talked to us a whole lot about it. There hasn't really been a lot of chatter about what we would do. My unit's going to Kosovo, so that's Serbia. Kind of that in between.
Have they mentioned like what your deployment would be? Like more of just like a...
Right now, it's just a peacekeeping mission. It's not a combat deployment.
Right. Yeah, but I meant like it just going over there just to train or being kind of like helping out.
We're a deterrent for the Serbias to invade Kosovo. So basically, in the 90s,
that was a big thing.
Yeah, there was an area of Serbia where these people lived. The Serbian government and them had a disagreement, and they came in and started picking a fight with this small area of this country. And the U.S. stepped in and said, you need to quit killing all these people. And we whipped their butt and sent them back over to Serbia. And then Kosovo created their own country. It's not a recognized country by some powers. So, like, obviously Serbia doesn't recognize them as a country. There are other... Spider. Sorry. Just looked up.
So does the United Nations...
I think the United Nations recognizes Kosovo as a
them?
country.
Okay.
But I think outside of the United Nations, I don't know if they do or not.
Okay.
Anyway, so basically we're going over there to sit on the border, the northern border of Kosovo, and be border security. And then that'll be most of the unit. Then there's a small unit that'll be integrated into the cities, and they'll go around and meet with key leaders and gather information and help plan like infrastructure and how to help the country progress. And
is your
that kind of
unit
stuff.
like all medics, or do you got like...
No, I'm in a cav unit.
Oh, okay.
So we're mounted.
Okay.
We're
Okay,
mounted
so
cav.
that makes sense.
Yeah, mounted cav, Humvees, and 50 cows and Mark 19s, and I'm in the platoon sergeant's truck, which is a 50. So my platoon sergeant, he's pretty cool. My driver, he's a cool dude. But me and my gunner, we got super close. He's one of my really good friends now.
What rank are you?
I'm a specialist. I'm an E4.
E4 Mafia.
Yeah, I got in as an E4, and I'll probably get out as an E4. So
Mafia is the best place to be.
dude, I love it, man. It's so much fun, especially as a medic, bro. You get so much preferential treatment as a medic. Nobody messes with you. Everybody is very hey, yeah, I get a lot of requests of like, hey doc, we need you to look at this, or hey, we need you to do whatever, medically. But outside of that, the scouts and the other guys, the mortarmen and all that we have attached to us, dude, they have a lot of crap they have to put up with. And I don't. I get to go with my medics and be like, oh, we're going to train or whatever, and we'll go and hang out and we'll train. We'll talk about stuff, but
don't mess with the guys that are going to save your lives.
it's nice, man. If you ever think about joining, medic's the way to go.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
one of my rookies is.
Palmer.
Yeah, Palmer.
Me and Palmer we were in the same unit.
Yeah, he said he got moved or transferred to Savannah.
Yeah.
He's like, ugh.
Yeah, that was a rough day, man. I was pretty heartbroken when he left. He was a lot of fun to work with in the guard, so we had a good time.
He said he got promoted without even trying.
Dude, I told him he was getting promoted, so he didn't know. I got a phone call from somebody, one of our staff sergeants or sergeant for classes, about the medics in my unit. So the 108th has HHT, which is where all the medics are assigned, and then we have Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie troop underneath them. So you go to HHT and you get farmed out to these other troops. Well, we were in Bravo troop together, and somebody from HHT called me, and he was like, "Hey, what's up with Specialist so-and-so, one of the specialists under me and Palmer?" And I was like, "I don't know, you need to call Palmer, because we didn't have a sergeant, because the troops have a sergeant and 3 specialists as medics. You have the headquarters element of that troop's medic is a sergeant, and then I was first platoon's medic. We had second and third medic. It was like he was calling about the second's medic, and I was like, I don't know, you'd have to call Palmer. He goes, oh yeah, Palmer's gone. I'm like, what do you mean Palmer's gone? Like, I just talked to him. We're planning on, doing this stuff at drill in a couple days. He was like, no, man, he got promoted. He's getting sent to Savannah. I was like, does he know that? Because I don't think he knows that.
Yeah, he was saying like he just got like a phone call one day. He's like, hey, you got to report to drill in Savannah. He's like,
yeah.
what?
So I called him, and I was like, hey, man, are you getting promoted? And he's like, nah, man, I'm
not that I know
not
of.
that I know of. No. I said, well, I just got a call from so-and-so, and they were like, yeah, he's promoted. He's going to Savannah. And he looked at I think it was his iPerms, which is like your record keeping for your military. And he was like, holy crap, I'm a sergeant. I was like, well, congratulations, man. Like, that's cool. And then, then he got a phone call, like you said, like a day or two later, that they were like, hey, congrats, you're promoted to sergeant. You're going to take control of this unit as the medical NCO for this detachment in Savannah or whatever. So I was proud of him. He's a good dude. But it was, that's how all that happened. So
it's weird to hear like him being like in charge of stuff.
Yeah.
And like him talking about like the military side of stuff, because like at work he's very like kind of shy about certain things.
Yeah.
And he just kind of
He's kind of a quiet guy.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
quiet. I mean, like he can come back with jokes every once in a while,
Yeah.
and he'll talk trash just like any of us, but for the most part you're like, you're in charge of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's weird, kind of weird to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, so he was the specialist in charge, and he got promoted and shipped out. So then I became, at that time, the senior medic. But they didn't give us another medic because we didn't have any more. So we ran the troop with 3 medics. So I was the headquarters element medic, and I got moved to third's medic. And so that was a pretty interesting time in my military career, because I had 2 different superiors pulling me 2 different ways, because 2 different whole platoons of people needed stuff from me, and that's pretty wild. But so I'd have to go. We went to XCTC that year.
What is that?
Yeah. So
Yeah, all the acronyms.
I can't remember what it stands for.
Training?
Yeah, it's a month long out in the woods.
Okay.
Yeah,
Field training.
field training.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the prerequisite to go to JRTC. for us.
Okay.
So you do crew weapons qual, which is your truck goes up and shoots targets with your crew serve weapons. Then you go to XCTC, which is it's a 2-week actual training, but you're out in the field for 2 weeks straight, and your unit has to maneuver against elements and resupply you, and they have to hit all these benchmarks. And then from there, you go to JRTC, which is your main big force-on-force, division-on-division style
battle games
at Fort Polk or Fort Johnson, whatever it's called now. And then so we just did that this year. And then from there, once you finish a JRTC rotation, you become deployable, and then you have a ready year. You go on your deployment, you come back, and then you have a rest year. Then you start over crew serve, XTC, JRTC
Right.
deployment. So,
Did you have to do anything with COVID?
no.
You
So,
didn't get like activated or.
so I was actually in AIT when COVID happened. So I joined in 2019
Okay.
for basic. I left October.
I thought you joined earlier than that.
No, I left October 5th. I actually left. So my entrance into the military was pretty hectic. I left September 26th to go to basic, and I went to Fort Jackson. Johnson to Jackson, man. I went to Fort Jackson in South Carolina. South Carolina. I get there. I go through in processing at reception. Did everything. I was in the ship line. I had my bags. I'm like ready to get on the truck.
Did you get the shark attack?
Yes, we'll get there.
Okay.
So I'm going to run up to get on the bus to go to our actual basic trip. So you go to reception, then you get on a bus. They drive you across the base, and then you get to your basic training unit, and that's how you enter basic training. You don't step off the bus from the airport or whatever into basic training. There's a process you get into. So as I'm running up to get on the bus to go to our actual basic training unit, the drill sergeant standing there, he goes, "Stop." And I'm holding my bags. I'm like, "Yes, drill sergeant." He goes, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Deal, drill sergeant." He's like, "You're not on my list." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You're not going with me." He turns around and leaves 10 of us standing there holding our bags like, "What just happened? Are we, what?" So the drill sergeant in charge of reception comes out. He goes, "Huh, go get ready for dinner chow." And we're like, whoa, man. Like, thought we were supposed to, like, today's the day, you know, like we're all hyped to go. And he was like, "Look, sometimes they overbook. Something happens. They book too many people to go into this basic training slot. And you 10 are the 10 that got left out. You know, sorry." So we're like, "Well, what does that mean?" He goes, "We don't ship another class to basic for like 3 weeks." So we were going to have to stay in reception for like 3 weeks at Fort Jackson. So we're all like, "Oh man, dude, this sucks."
I was
So he
there for
kinda-
like a day.
Right.
There was
Reception,
one day in between, and that was terrible.
reception is the absolute worst part of the military.
Purgatory.
Oh, dude, it is terrible. Oh my gosh, it is the worst.
waiting.
Oh, waiting. Then you have the holdovers who were like, they got there and they like had a mental breakdown, or they want to get out and they haven't even made it to basic. They're already,
Or the recycles.
whatever. Yeah, or the recycles. So you're just like, it was like 10 of us who were like actual stable-minded people that wanted to go through this. And then there was 100 people there who were like suicidal, or like there was this one dude, I'll never forget him. I know his name. I'm not going to say it though. He legitimately had a mental like snap. He would walk around in his silkies, the undergarments, with his underwear on the outside of them, and that's it. And like he would yell at the drill sergeants and like punch walls and like eat grass out of the yard. Like some people were like, "Oh, I think he's faking it," and I was like, I've seen some legitimately crazy people. He's legit. Like he's absolutely outside his mind. So I guess he just got there and the stress, his mind broke, man. So like I'm dealing with that. So we're there for probably 7 days, 6-7 days. And the drill sergeant calls the 10 of us down. He's like, "Hey, go pack your stuff. 5 o'clock in the morning, you're getting on a plane. You're flying to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri to go to basic there." So the next morning we get up. We go to the airport. They fly us to Missouri. We get on a bus. We have to do all of reception again because Fort Jackson didn't put any of our records in. I got all of my shots twice. I got the peanut butter shot twice. Dude, it was...
Surprised you didn't come out autistic.
Dude, I know, right? Well, a little bit. But had to go everything twice. And then we got there like on a Friday night. We did all of reception on Saturday because there was only 10 of us. So they just ran us through Saturday and we did it all. God. Sunday we had a rest, or they called it a rest day. It wasn't a rest day. We got up at 3 a.m. and they kept us awake till midnight just doing stuff. And then Monday morning we got on the bus and actually shipped to basic. And then yes, we had a shark attack, the whole 9, got off the bus, So we get on the bus and they're like, put your heads down. And like, we've all got our heads down and like bags in front of us. They won't let us look up. And they're like, because they don't want us running away or whatever, knowing where we are. They drove us around the base in circles. We finally pull up and we get off the buses and they're screaming at us. And there's 100 drill sergeants there. And yeah, we had a shark attack. So, and then it was Missouri. I finished in December 20th. So then my basic ended and I came home for holiday block leave for 2 weeks. And then I flew to San Antonio for AIT. But the last 2 weeks in December, it snowed like knee deep. So they had us out there rucking around and in the field and all the things in snow. And then a tornado happened one of the nights on our forge. So we were our 4-day FTX, like the third day, we had to like all run to this like grove of trees and like hunker down because there was a tornado coming through the base and stuff. It was wild. They had a wild time in basic. It was fun.
I was there. I went in on New Year's Eve, so they were exceptionally mad at us.
I bet,
because they're just like, I could be somewhere else getting drunk right now.
Yeah, I could be.
I gotta deal with you.
Yeah.
And then like in the middle of it, I was at Knox in Kentucky, and the only two places in the state that had power, from what we were told at the time, was Knox and Campbell.
Right.
The whole state just like lost power. Like huge winter storm came through.
Yeah.
They're like, if you're cold, like at one point, like even the base was like losing power. They're like, you have permission to actually like use your sleeping bags in your bed because it's gonna get so cold.
Really?
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't let us. So Missouri in winter, 10, 8, 4 degrees. They wouldn't let us wear any of our snivel gear. Like we couldn't wear.
Oh no, we didn't get to wear that, but like at nighttime they were just like, look, it's gonna get cold. If you want to sleep in your sleeping bag, you can.
Okay.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah, because I remember that was a big deal because you had to make your bed every morning.
Yep.
So we had a lot of guys the first couple nights they'd unroll their sleeping bag and sleep on top of their bed.
I did.
And then get up and then
every
roll
day.
it up.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Our drill sergeants. So we had bays, like 10-bed bays. We had like 5 of them. We didn't have the big one open room. So our drill sergeants would come in and they caught a couple people sleeping on top of their beds in their sleeping bags. And they flipped people out of mattresses, through lockers, like whole nine, man.
Did you ever get the card, the red card?
No.
Like
a stress card?
The stress card. Stress card.
No, that was not a thing.
Dude,
not at all.
They handed us each one, and then they like immediately went around and like took them back up.
Yeah,
they're just like, we're not playing that game.
That wasn't even like
they're
an option.
We checked that box, like we gave them to you.
Yeah,
but you're not going to use them.
No, there was no stress card or anything like that.
That was one of those things that like they started to implement, and luckily since like we weren't, is Leonardwood all male or is it co-ed?
No, it was co-ed.
Okay,
so I went through a co-ed.
So Knox was only male.
Was it?
And I think that's the only reason they were able to pull that off.
Yeah.
That like they're like, no, we're not playing that shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's your card, give me your card.
Yeah. Now I went through. It was co-ed. A lot of 88 mics. So Leonardwood is your MP, your drivers, your ordnance, EOD kind of stuff. It's weird. Like I was one of like 3 medics that had come through there because they don't. That's where medics go to Jackson most of the time. So yeah, Leonardwood was something else, man. All your chemical, CBUR, and that kind of stuff go through there. But yeah, no, it was a fun time. Like I enjoyed it, but looking back, I'm like, I don't want that. Nah, I'm good.
Did you get like every one of them? Like you get like the smoke fest, like consistently throughout. Just like PT'd, you're steaming. You're in a pile of sweat. Do you ever get like punished beyond like a normal smoke fest?
Yes. Twice. One was a guy fell asleep on guard in the middle of the night.
Ooh.
And he woke the whole bay up at like 3 a.m. That's when he came up, and the dude was like sitting. We had a little like drawer for like files and stuff, and he was sitting on it, and he was leaned up, and like the door where the drill sergeants come up the stairs is right there. Like you can't hide. He opened the door, and he was asleep. He didn't do that ease or anything, you know. So he woke all of us up, smoked us. Then, after what we thought was going to be the end of it, right? He was like, "All right, I want everybody to go grab your sheet off your bed." So he goes, "You have 30 seconds." So everybody has to run to their bed, rip their sheet off, come back and hold it. He's like, "All right, ball it up." So we balled it up. He's like, "All right, squat and hold it out in front of you." So then we do that. He'd be like, "All right, over your head, left, right, hold it out." All right. It's just a sheet. You're like, okay, this isn't that bad, right?
That sheet
All
gets
right.
heavy.
Well, then he's like, "All right, go get your other sheet off your bed." Because you have 2 sheets, a blanket, a pillowcase. So everybody has to run. One kid left his, like, thought he was being slick, so he put it in the floor. The drill sergeant threw it out the window, and we're on the 3rd floor. So he had to run downstairs and get it. Then we got smoked for him being late back to the room, not 30 seconds. And every time you're not going to make it in 30 seconds. So we get smoked, got smoked again, and then did the same, balled it up, held it. Had to go get our blanket off our beds, smoked again. Had to go get our lock off our lockers, put it, and then he was like, "All right, wrap your lock up in the middle." Well, everything's already balled up, so you had to unball everything, wrap your lock up in the middle, and the whole time you're doing like hold it out in front of you, hold it over, squatting, whole nine. So that was one night, and that lasted like an hour and a half. That he smoked us for. Basically, he smoked us until it was time for us to get up for the day. So we'd had, you know, in the Army they allow you your 8 hours of sleep. So you have to go to bed at 9, and you get to wake up at whatever 8 hours later is, 4, 5, whatever, 3. I don't know.
We're bad at math.
I'm terrible at math. 9, 10, 11, 12, 5. So if we had to get up earlier than 5 a.m., they would cut our personal time short because that was from 8 to 9. We'd have to go to bed earlier. But then you had an hour-long fire guard shift in the middle of that at some point. And then if something like this happened, you know, they just didn't get sleep, which was a lot of nights. But this was excessive. It wasn't excessive. It was over what normally happened. So that was one. And then we had a guy got caught. He originally got caught sneaking brass back from the range. And then when they went through all his stuff, they found, I don't know, all the snack Licky and Chewies from the MREs and stuff in his locker that he was hoarding and would like eat on his fire guard shifts and stuff. And they found all this contraband in his. So it was pretty early on. So we got pretty messed up for that too.
Dang.
Yeah. That one was just a straight smoke session. There was no games. It was just okay. All right. They threw a mattress out the window one time from the 3rd floor. They were going through doing room checks, and we were doing PT down in our PT field behind our barracks. And I can see, like, we're like doing push-ups and flutter kicks and all this stuff, and I'm looking up at our barracks, and I can see stuff like flying by the windows and like lockers falling over. Then because it was like, if your bed wasn't made perfect, it got tossed. If your lock was open, your locker got tossed, you know. And there was a whole bay where nothing was done right. All the beds were crap. Locker, like 3 locks were unlocked, you know. And so that bay, it wasn't my bay, thankfully. It was the one next to mine. But the way I was looking at the windows, I thought it was mine. And he opens up these big windows we had on the side of the building. And he starts yelling at us out the window while we're doing PT. And then we just see this blue prison mattress just out the window and come tumbling down to the sidewalk. Yeah, man. Nice. It was awesome.
We only got one, like, just beyond the normal smoke sessions. Mm-hmm. And it was because you remember, like, any kind of, like, cake or pie or anything dessert was called, like, fatty cake.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's just like, you don't need that unless you're a fatty.
Right.
And that's just what they called it. And they're like, don't touch it. Yeah. So one dude, he told us, he's like, "It's my birthday. I'm going to get a fatty cake." And we're like, "Don't do it, dude.
Dude, no.
It's like,
it's not worth it.
Like, we're all going to get punished for it."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I don't care. I want it. It's my birthday. It's the one thing I can control." And I was like, "You are a fucker.
You are.
You know what's going to happen."
So dumb.
He got it,
Oh man.
and he walked right by the drill sergeant. You could just see it. Like I was being a W, I was always at the back of the line.
Yeah.
So like I could perceive like everything that's going on, and I'm just like,
Oh, this is gonna be bad. You just start
God.
like
He didn't. Drill sergeant didn't even say anything. He just like, yeah, that
Okay.
little like, okay, I got you. And he came up. We were waiting for it in the bay, and he came up and he goes, rifles, helmets, knee pads,
yeah.
and then walked out. And we're like, oh God.
Oh
And
no.
so we're like towing the line, and it's he comes in, he goes, iron mics until I get tired.
Yeah.
And it was legit 4+ hours
Oh wow.
because it was immediately after dinner
Mm-hmm.
until like bedtime.
Yeah.
And it was just lunging, and he wanted to hit the knee pads were to hear the clicks.
Yeah.
Hear it clicking, and then like the rifles over your head the whole time. And dude, at some point, like your arms start to get tired, and like
Yeah.
you're like bearing the rifle down into your helmet and everything, and then you're like, ugh, and like holding it back up. And my knee has not hurt that bad, or my knees haven't hurt that bad since literally like last week when I ran 18 miles,
Yeah.
and like my right knee was killing me, and I was like, dude, it hasn't hurt this bad since basic training.
Yeah.
Because it was just on fire. Because it just you hear like until I get tired, and you're like, okay, it's probably gonna be an hour and a half, 2 hours.
He legit got tired
Dude,
of watching y'all do that.
Dude, it was 4+ hours.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Now AIT, when I got there in San Antonio, dude, that was a different beast. The drill sergeants there, they had a reputation of like, oh, AIT drill sergeants are easier, and like they're easier on people, right? And they were like, not here, we're not. So the company I was in, it's Foxtrot. They wanted to be the hardest company there, and so for medic, there's one battalion that trains medics in the Army. It's 232 Medical Battalion, Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio. There's Alpha through Foxtrot, and then golf companies for like broke people. So if you're so broke you can't train, you go to golf company and rehab until you can integrate back into a new company. So Foxtrot, fucked up Falcons, man. That's what we were. And we had a bunch of disciplinary issues with guys. Just, you get a little taste of freedom. You don't have because as you progress, so but when you get there, you're basically still in basic, right? Their thumbs on you. You can't go anywhere, whole nine. And then you move up in phases. And by the end of it, you're able to like go out on weekends and walk around the base in civilian clothes when you're not in class and that kind of stuff. So you get your freedom little bits at a time. Over 16 weeks, you earn your freedom. You don't get any freedom until you pass your EMTB, and then you get a little more. Then you pass like your trauma checkoffs, and you get a little more. And then the last 2 weeks, I think, or right before graduation, you get your like phase 5 or whatever, and you can like go out and do stuff. But like day one, people were like trying to sneak out and go like buy beer and cigarettes and stuff. And one chick got her hands on some alcohol and drank so much that in the middle of final formation that night, walked over behind, they had a drill sergeant van so they could transport us back and forth to like the hospital if we needed to, and to like appointments and stuff. She went over behind the drill sergeant's van and peed and then fell over in it and like was unconscious. And one of the other medics in training was like, drill sergeant, so and so's unconscious. And they're like, what? So they like, oh no, and they ran over there and realized like she's hammered. We're like 4 days in, dude. We got smoked all night. It felt like they wanted everyone to meet the 20K. What is it, the standard 3-hour ruck for 12 miles?
Oh yeah, 12 miles,
12 miles, 3 hours.
3 hours, 35 pounds dry weight.
Yeah. So we would do that twice a week. We would ruck that because they wanted everybody. And until the very end, like we had people falling out left and right, but the pace they were setting for our rucks as a medic was that pace. 3 hours.
It's hard.
20K.
I've tried to do it, and like
It's not easy, dude.
it's not like at the end of it, like dude, you are like steaming.
Yes.
I've done it here in like the hills of LJ,
Yeah,
and like going up and down the roads, and like man, you're like
dude, you're
the
moving.
downhills, you're hustling,
Yeah.
and then like on the uphills, you just walk at a good pace.
Yeah,
but you cannot.
you're
give
moving
up.
at a good clip.
Like
No.
you cannot stop.
Yeah, and those were rough. We would do
Yeah.
that at minimum once a week on Fridays, and a lot of times we do it twice a week. We do it like Tuesday, Friday. We do it, and then the other days we do normal calisthenics and PT and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But-
it's not easy for sure.
No, so they just wanted, and we would get up an hour earlier than every other company, and we would PT like 30 minutes to an hour later than every company. That was just our normal day stuff. We would, and all the other companies would get up, PT, go to their rooms and do hygiene, and then march to chow. The chow hall was a mile away from our barracks, so they marched to chow. We would get up an hour early, PT until breakfast, do a IBA run to breakfast, eat breakfast, and then IBA run after eating breakfast back to the company. Then they give us hygiene
plate
time.
carrier.
Yeah, your plate carrier.
Yeah.
And then they would give us hygiene time. So we PT'd from when we got up past breakfast all the way. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. It was good for me, and I appreciate it now. But in the moment, like every day, I was like, I don't want to make this running, because running to chow was all uphill, and you're already tired, and then
And you're
coming
running in
back, you're
boots.
full. Yeah, and then coming back, you're full because you've eaten. You don't want to eat, but you have to. So now you're full of food, and you got to run a mile and 1.2 miles or something like that back to your barracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough.
Dude, I went to airborne school directly out of basic training.
Yeah.
So, or technically, I went to can't remember what it's called. They gave it an acronym, but I went to Jackson for like not even a week
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, they want to make sure that you're ready for airborne before you go.
Right.
So because like we're the only MOS as a parachute rigger who has to go to airborne school before our AIT,
Okay.
because it's like you got to know
That
how to
makes sense.
jump
That makes
to
sense.
be able to pack those chutes.
Right.
So I was at Jackson for like 4 days, and they're just like, you're going to get a PT test, and they just want to make sure you could pass that PT test. I was like, I do not want to be here, because there were some of them there that were like, dude, I've been here for like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and I'm like, nah, man. I was like, I'm out of here on Thursday.
Yeah.
I was like, when we do that PT test, I was like, I'm out.
Yeah. I'm gonna pass.
Yeah.
And there was
Did it, then immediately went to airborne at Benning. Was there for 3 weeks, but it's like on the weekends you get like they treat you like adults there, so it's
Right.
like at the end of the day you're free to do whatever you want.
Yep.
The weekend you can go home.
Yeah.
So I did all that. Like I ended up like having my car, like I was like driving back and forth because
Yeah.
like I had lived so close, and then you go back to AIT and you're like, man, this is like
that's-
prison again.
Dang it! I had a taste of freedom.
Yeah,
Well, that was like-
it was nice though.
That was like holiday block leave. So I left basic, came home for 2 weeks, and was home and saw Catherine, and went out on New Year's Eve with my buddies, and did the whole 9. And then I fly to Texas, and it's like, all right, back to this,
Back to hell.
back to yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, it was. Circling all the way back, I'm so glad I did it. I'm glad I joined. I'm glad I did the job I do. But I'm not staying in. I got 2 kids now, and like you were talking about earlier, with Brinka, World War III coming. If they call me before I'm out, I'll happily go and serve and do
So
my
you still got
job.
your 2 years of IRR too.
I do, yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen for you.
Yeah. Hope it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I did it too. It was one of those boxes that like I wanted to check, because I was, I remember for 9/11, I believe it was like sophomore. Watched it happen in auto tech, and then in first plane hit in auto tech. Then we switched classes. Everybody was kind of weird.
Yeah.
TVs were on, and then you watch the second one hit, and then it was just like,
Okay. This is
okay, everyone's going home.
Yeah. Everybody's
then-
going home.
You're a freaking young teenager who's like just pissed off.
Yeah.
So of course I was ready to go, and not old enough. And then when I turned 18, like I was actually like ready to join the Marines.
Yeah.
And my parents like convinced me to give college a try. And for me, it wasn't my thing.
Right.
So eventually I was like, all right, I'm gonna try the Army. Did all that, but deployed once. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I did. It gave me a lot of cool experiences.
Yeah.
I think it was nope, not that one. Maybe it was that one. Nope. There's one of them in here somewhere. But that one. When I did Normandy,
Right.
that was actually my AT for 1 year. So it was like we got to go over to Portugal and the Azores, stayed there for a night. Then we went over to London. We did their jump school crash course. We were supposed to jump, way too windy. Their
Right.
parachutes are a lot shallower. It's more like a frisbee than like an actual
Okay.
canopy. So they're like, jump scratch. You guys get to go. You Yanks get to go to London for the day. And we're like, right, cool. So like we just got to go crash around London, like pub hop, and saw all the sights. And
Oh, that's cool.
and then we went into Normandy, got to see like all the cemeteries. Got to see Omaha, Utah, Pegasus Bridge, all these amazing sites. Dude, it was
I wanna go
it was
so
so
bad.
awesome. I loved it. But I remember like one of the guys I was with, he came up to me because I was just like one of the taller guys that went. He's like, slouch when we get in this formation. And I was like, what? And he's like, slouch, trust me. I was like, okay. And then they like do the whole thing, and I was like, fuck this. I was like, I'm just gonna stand tall. And
Yeah.
so I got picked because I was tall.
Right.
But I'm glad I did it because like I got to do the honor guard, and like, dude, I was carrying like the Army flag.
Right.
And I got to do all this other stuff that the other guys didn't get to do. So like for me, that was pretty
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. And like I've told it on here before, I don't know if it was like the Brook or maybe it was the Bates. But when we got to do Point to Hawk, where the Rangers landed, I was literally arguing with a sergeant major and a first star general, which is the way I got that coin,
Yeah.
to keep all the streamers on the Army flag.
Right.
Because they're like, it's way too windy up here. We're not gonna keep it on there. It's just it's gonna be too much work. I was like, freaking Rangers landed here. I was
Yeah.
like, I can hold a flag.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, to the point where like I was raising my voice to a sergeant major and a 1-star general, and they finally conceded to me, the only specialist there. Everybody
Right.
else was sergeants or staff sergeants, and they're like, all right, it's on you. I was like,
Yeah. All right.
go up the steps, and like immediately it was just like, oh god, and like caught it, and I'm just like, I can't remember how long the ceremony was, but I was just sitting there like
Yeah.
just shaking from the wind. I'm fighting this flag, like I'm just like at the end of it, my arms were exhausted.
Yeah.
But I had a ranger in the audience who came up to me and was just like, "You did a great job holding
Yeah.
that flag. I saw you fighting for it." And I'm just like,
That was.
I
worth
just
it.
held a flag.
Yeah. Yeah,
So, like,
you
that alone
did the
was-
hard part.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like,
stood
dude,
here.
super cool. And then it just so happened that one of the congressmen there was there. Can't remember his name, but he was actually from Georgia, my district
Oh, that's cool.
at the time. So I was like, super cool.
Wow,
So
what
I got
a coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I got to do all this cool stuff in the military. Jump out of airplanes. I shrunk an inch from airborne school.
Yeah, I hear that happens.
But yeah, I mean, it was worth it. I'm glad
Yeah.
I did it. I'm glad I checked that box.
Yeah, same. I wasn't going to. I had talked about it a little bit here and there, and I was like, man, because I was 26 when I joined, so I was older than 90% of the guys who joined.
Yeah, I joined older
18,
too.
18, 19 years old. And actually, Catherine is the one that she came to me one night. We've been married 2 years. She was like, hey, look, you talk about this a lot. If you really want to do it, she's like, I've been praying about it. I've been thinking about it. And I just wanted you to know that if this is something you want to do, if you want to join the Guard, I want you to do it. Because up until that point, I just thought, oh, I should have, I wish I would have kind of deal. And then she was like, no, like, you can. And I was like, whoa, okay, things kind of got real there. So it took about a week and did some research, and we were driving by Cherokee High School. She kind of pointed over to the armory, and she's like, have you thought about any more about it? I was like, yeah, I just, she goes, well, pull in, let's go talk to somebody. Okay, so I pulled in, and
You're totally taking all my excuses away.
right. She was like, look, I mean, you're the one that says you want to do this. If you want to do it, let's do it. She's like, I'm behind you 100%. I'll support you through everything. This is a decision we'll make together, right? So I was very fortunate there. So we pull up, and this guy's walking out of the armory, and I'm like, hey, is there somebody I can talk to, about joining? He goes, well, I happen to be a recruiter. I'm like, cool, let's go talk. So we go. He comes in, he goes into his office, and we're the same age. He's a medic. He's a paramedic that works on a truck. He's married. His wife was in basic. So he checked all the boxes of like where we would have questions. Not only did he answer them, but he answered them honestly, and he was going through it also. You know what I mean? So I think I think God just put him there and lined it up to where it was like, that's the guy you need to talk to.
Yeah.
So we still talk today. Like, I'm still friends with him.
Nice.
Yeah, very cool. He's in another unit. But super cool guy. Didn't lie to me about one thing, which not all people can say that about their recruiter.
Yeah, I kind of got conned.
Yeah, no, I didn't get conned. And I think it was because of all the similarities we had. He was like, you're the first person who's not 18 that I've recruited. He only been in recruiting a couple months at that point. He goes, I really don't know a lot of your questions because your questions pertain to people who are older, and I'm still with 18-year-olds who don't care. They just want a cool job. And I had questions about insurance and money and family, and so that's how I ended up joining. And then we went home and talked about it, and I took the PICAT, which is the at-home test.
Oh.
It's the ASVAB, but you can take it at home. And then when I went to MEPS, I did the verification test and kept my scored pretty high. And they're like, you can do anything you want. I'm like, I kind of just want to be a medic. They're like, that's it? Like, you could do all these cool things. I'm like, nah, I just kind of want to be a medic. They're like, okay, cool, sign here. So I signed up.
Nice.
Yeah, man. I joined because, I don't know, because I didn't have anything else going on at the time.
Yeah, why not?
I just promoted to sergeant, so I wasn't promoting anytime soon. I wasn't getting moved anytime soon. I was kind of stagnant. I felt at the time I was kind of stagnant in my career with the fire department. Like, there wasn't going to be any forward progression in a couple years. So I took on another challenge.
Nice.
That seems to be what I do. Is if I'm not being challenged or pushed, I go find one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
So, yeah, dude.
So the last thing I typically do is dad advice or just advice. Anything that you could say to the world. Like, if you had one thing to give advice on, what would it be?
I actually read something today that kind of I feel with men, and especially what we do, and people who are more we see ourselves as these tough and kind of guys. We don't listen to our emotions a lot. We keep them in and bottle them up, and we make jokes about them, and that's fine. Like, how you handle your trauma is how you handle it. But don't ignore your emotions. Feel what you need to feel. Go through what you need to go through. And there was I was reading something, and it was like men don't cry kind of deal. And then there was a passage, and it said Jesus wept. And I thought, okay, if Jesus can sit here and cry over something that he's going through and emotions he's feeling, 100% man, then I can too. I can feel my emotions. I can have what I need. I can take time to take care of myself. So I think that if I could just talk to anybody and tell them, one, it's okay what you're going through and what you're feeling. You're allowed to feel what you feel, and you're allowed to have your emotions. Emotions aren't right or wrong; they just are. And I think people get hung up on their emotions as like, well, I shouldn't feel this way, or I should feel worse about this, or whatever. And your emotions are just your emotions. They're not right or wrong. So feel what you need to feel, do what you need to do to take care of yourself, be stable for those people around you, take care of yourself. And it's okay to feel what you need to feel, man. So and I say that because having a kid, you're gonna have some emotions coming up that you've never been through before, and it's okay to feel that way, or be frustrated, or be sad, or whatever. And that's just something I try to remember. So yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, dude.
Love it. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming up here.
Yeah, dude. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks.
I've really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, bye, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please follow us on your favorite podcast app, hit that bell for notifications on new episodes, and please share with a friend. Thank you for all the support so far. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.